Good evening, sister.
Good evening, sister.
Thank you. Please, I hope you are fine.
Yes, please. Thank
Yes,
you.
sister.
Yes, please,
Yes,
and
we are
you are.
I'm also good. Thank you. All right. So today it's the first time of our meeting for transition into nursing and midwifery. And unfortunately, we were not able to connect last week. So today being the first meeting, I would want to take the opportunity first to introduce the course content to you and then myself also to you. And then we will carry on with what we have with our first lecture. So before we start, I will plead with any of you if probably the person can share a word of prayer.
Let's pray. Our Lord and Heavenly Father, this afternoon we are grateful for the bread of life given of us. We pray that as you are come to start a new course, you grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And at the end, we say glory. This and many more we ask Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Please, your name.
Amen.
Thank you. The person who just prayed, please, what's your name?
Odede Onali. Maybe Odede Onali.
Okay, Mabel. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, so our course is Transition into Nursing and Midwifery. And it talks about our profession and the foundations of our profession, how we would be able to adjust and then advance within our profession as we've come into it. I'm aware that most of us or all of us are already in the field working, and we just need this advancement with our degree so that we will be able to push higher and then push further, and also to deliver the best of care to our patients. And that is why we are here. So we want to first of all go into the scope of our profession and then see how best we can also reflect with what we have or the knowledge that we have and build on it for the advancement or betterment of our future. So my name is Dr. Giftie Champoma. That's my name. I started as a nurse and then I delved into midwifery. So I hold a diploma in nursing, BSc in nursing, BSc in public health, MSc public health, then MPhil in public health, and then MPhil in midwifery, and then also BSc in education. So that's my background. And I believe that with our course, we will be able to connect with each other very well, and we'll have the best of time since it's a very nice course, very, very entailing. So with our course description from your screen, I believe you can see, since I'm sharing, it is a provision of the foundation of our practice with nursing, with midwifery, and you know that we advanced from nursing into midwifery as the profession itself started with nursing before it was later advanced into midwifery as a specialty. So we will start our foundations with nursing and then midwifery. And then it also explores the history, philosophy, and scope of nursing midwifery practice. That also including our roles as nurses, our roles as midwives. In addition, it's going to enhance our understanding of our midwifery profession and how to differ it from other occupations. Nursing is very nice, but I came to also love midwifery And I came to also love the passion that is entailed within midwifery as a profession. For now, I don't think that anybody who was actually assisted into this world through labor, through a midwife, now a president, if given the opportunity, will not acknowledge the assistance that was given to him on coming into the earth by a midwife. Likewise, if we are also to go to probably the communities and then find out which midwife actually assisted in bringing our president into the world, that midwife will always found that kind of gratification within in the pursuit of her profession. And so midwifery is also a very noble and a nice profession. So we are going to also go into concepts about how to distinct a profession as a midwife and then also with it from other professions. Our course is also going to acquaint us with professional values, which is the most important thing or the most significant thing that we are all seeking to achieve within our practice, maintaining and then sustenance of values. It's going to also guide us with our ethics, and it's also going to guide us so that we build concepts on legal issues within our profession. I think that some of these standards, if we are able to acquaint ourselves with them, we will be able to guard ourselves against even legal issues that spans within our profession. And I always say that for now, people are looking for medical, ethical, legal issues to take people on, most especially with our profession. And so we should all be on guard. But then if we get ourselves acquainted and then also reflect on the concepts that we have with ethics, with values, and then with legal issues, I know that together with the documentations we do, sometimes or more often we will be able to sail through in terms of any legalities. And that is also an aspect that we will be looking at. So that is our course description. And with the course outcomes by the end, we are expecting that we'll be able to give an account of the history, philosophy, and scope of nursing and midwifery, which I know, like I stated, we did it during the diploma level. But then, in order to reflect upon it, we will still build on it. So, history, philosophy, and then scope of nursing and midwifery. We will go into description about the professional values, ethics, and then also with legal issues, like I stated. And then we will explain nursing theories and then the nursing processes, which we have also had an insight into during our time in getting ourselves with our diplomas. But like I stated, this course is about concepts and reflection and how to build upon what we already have. So we go through that and then go into the concept of communication and then also connect with therapeutic relationships that we ensue within our profession, how to practice and perform them excellently. And then we will also look into patient safety and then patient quality of care as our last outcome or objective. With the course content, like I stated, we are looking into histories, we are looking into philosophies, and then we are also considering scope of nursing and midwifery. We are not restricting ourselves only into Ghana, but also to the world or globally. We are focusing on aims of nursing midwifery skills together with their competencies. So we look at competencies of midwife, which spanned from nursing actually to what we have in midwifery. You consider roles and functions or responsibilities of a midwife in all settings. And then we will also enhance on qualities of a nurse or a midwife that is good. You will look at our personal appearance. You consider things like dress codes. You consider things like hospital etiquette. You consider things like interpersonal relationships, helping relationships, And then we'll go through our nurse's pledge and then our midwife's prayer. We will also look at core values of our profession with respect to ethics, with respect to legal issues. So we will talk about core values such as compassion, core values such as empathy, respect, dignity, and kindness. And I know that in one way or the other, we are all doing our very best to actually maintain these values. And that is why we went into midwifery. If you don't have a heart, you can't go into midwifery, and that is a fact. So we will go through our core values and how to maintain them in high esteem, looking at issues like compassion, looking at issues like empathy, looking at issues like respect, dignity, and then kindness. With patient-centered care, we are going to prioritize on patients' needs, their preference, and then also autonomy. In the bit of professionalism, we will look at maintaining expertise, accountability, and then integrity. In ethics, we will focus on principles of ethics, such as autonomy, such as beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, guidelines for professional conduct and decision-making, ethical dilemmas. With that, we will go into resolving conflicts between personal values, professional obligations, and then also patients' needs. The legal issues in nursing and midwifery, we will focus on understanding legal boundaries and responsibilities. Like I stated, with some of these things, if we are abreast with them, we won't get ourselves into trouble. We have charters that are being used in various institutions and facilities. And within these charters, some of these issues of legalities, they are documented. But the issue is how much time we even have to go through these charters so that we know the thing that guides and protects us as professionals and those that are also expected of us. So we will look at where and how our boundaries expand, including our responsibilities. And then with informed consent, we will consider ensuring patients' rights to make informed decisions. So with informed consent, you are looking at patients' rights to make informed decisions. Confidentiality and privacy. We will focus on protecting patients' personal and medical information. Very, very, very significant. How we'll be able to maintain confidentiality so that patients get to even trust us with certain informations. Liability and negligence. We will get to understand the legal implications of our professional actions. And then with definition of nursing theories, we will get ourselves with some of the theories. I know with some of them we've probably encountered within the course of our diploma, but we will still go through. So we'll get to talk about the Royce adaptation model, the Newman systems model, and
Please, we can't hear you.
Please, I can't hear you.
She has muted herself, that's why.
Sorry. I had muted myself. Sorry. So we will go through the self-care deficit theory of the Dorothea Orims. We will also go through the theory of comfort, and then we will also look at the nursing process. Like I stated, these are things with some we are conversant with, and with others we are not. So with those that we are not, we will build on foundations. With those that we are, we will go into reflection about their concepts. So with the nursing process, we will look at the assessment, we will look at diagnosis, we look at planning, implementation, and then of course evaluation. And then in the scope of communication and therapeutic in the scope of communication and therapeutic relationship, we will look at definition of communication. We talk about types of communication, the levels of communication, barriers of communications, and conditions necessary for effective communication. And that is also very, very significant. With sometimes some of the utterances that comes from some of our colleagues. So in communication, we will also enhance efforts, and then we will see how best to adjust. Oh, who is that? Ourselves, so that we can effectively ensure that we are communicating within the right scope with our patients. With patient safety and quality of care, we will look at error prevention, and with that, we will look at strategies to minimize medical errors, consider medication safety. With that, we will look at administration and management of medications, look at infection control, and then also measures to prevent healthcare associated infections. Quality of care, we are considering effectiveness, which leads to achievement of desired outcomes with our patients. Look at efficiency, which talks about care that minimizes waste and optimizes resources. Please, the person should kindly mute herself, please. And then with patient-centeredness, we will consider care within the space of that which respects and responds to patients' needs and then preferences. So this is our course content. Basically, we are looking at how to build ourselves very well and how to be able to adjust ourselves within the profession that we have taken, reflection on some of our responsibilities, roles, and then our functions, our duties, reflection on how to be able to give or provide the best optimal care to our patients so that with what we want to achieve with desired outcomes in the course of practicing or implementation of care, we will be able to do so. So please, that is our course content. And I will want to know if we have questions with the course content, so that if there are no questions, we can move on to our first lecture for today. Thank you for your attention.
No, it is already. You know why? No, Rabia, please mute yourself.
Any question with respect to our course content? Of course, I forgot to talk about assessment. So with assessment, you will have a continuous assessment, being the formative ones where we consider the midterm that we will have, and then probably an assignment. And that spans with 30%. And then with a summative assessment, it goes into your end of semester examination. But then I trust and I hope that we will all be able to make very, very good grades and appreciate what we are doing. And so with assessment, I just hope that by the grace of God, we will all get something appreciable for our transcripts. And like they say, idle college, how can you fail? We can't fail. So we are in for business. So I know we will get there. Please, any question? Other than that, I would want to actually start with our first lecture for today.
Sister, please, let's start. Sister, please, let's start.
We're muting.
Please, you are muted. If you can unmute, then we'll continue.
Please, have they started? I think she's out.
We are waiting on sister.
She's not out. She has only muted herself.
Yes, out.
She's back now.
I think sister is on mute again. I think she's speaking about joining.
Please, you are muted. If you can unmute for us.
Okay, so please restart. And we are looking at the scope of history and development of nursing and midwifery in the world. So like we all know, nursing is a developing profession, and that is why new things keeps on coming each and every day. Not long ago, we even had a revision with the curriculum that we use in teaching. And I know that it's also for actually actually the betterment of the profession. So it keeps on evolving, it keeps on. So nursing is actually a developing profession. You'll be able to receive care within the scope of the profession, and you'll also be able to equally give the care in the best possible way that you can actually give. So then we look at what the definition of nursing is. As I said, and as you know, we evolved from nursing into the practice of midwifery. That is why you start seeing things with nursing, but gradually we will come into midwifery. So with the definition of nursing, we look at it from our great founder, and also I would say even philosopher, with her definition with nursing, where she stated that it's the act of utilizing the environment of the patient in the assistance of his or her recovery. And she stated that in 1860. With that, she emphasized on a clean, well-ventilated and quiet environment as the essential components for actually achieving best optimal health for an individual. And she came into this conclusion when she went to the Crimean War, of course, which we will talk about, and how she was able to put or institute measures so that the place will be very clean. The place that was where she nursed her patients will be very clean. And then it will also go a long way to help in infection prevention and the better achievement of care. So Florence saw that in order to achieve the best quality care for patients or to practice nursing, you need to consider or focus on a clean environment. You need to consider or focus a well-ventilated environment and then a quiet environment. And so no wonder we come to the ward, and the first thing that sometimes you consider doing is dusting of the ward before even we start with work. With dusting, we move on to things like bed making. So it is all to ensure that we maintain the right environment for dealing with our patients. And that was one of the cardinal things I would say Florence emphasized or looked into within the practice of nursing, and then brought out her definition in 1860. And so the definition of nursing was accepted gradually by the World Health Organization, and also it emphasized on another great philosopher who is Virginia Henderson, who is also seen to be the founder of our midwifery profession. And that was in 1958. So with advancement and from the definition of Nightingale, we got to also get, we had the opportunity to also get the definition and then the concept of Virginia Henderson, actually in 1958. And Virginia stated that nursing is the unique function of assisting the individual. And I actually like her definition because it goes much deeper just than probably considering a clean, ventilated environment for nursing a patient. With hers, she stated that it is the unique function of assisting the individual, either sick or well. Sometimes we see people, we think all is well, but most often you get to know through assessment that it is not the case. So we want to look at the unique function of assisting the individual, whether sick or well, and also in the performance of those activities contributing to health or its recovery, and to also its peaceful death. That the person would perform unaided if he had the necessary strength, will, or knowledge to do so in such a way to help him gain independence as rapidly as possible. And that is the definition of the great woman Virginia Henderson. And if you analyze the two, you will see that her definition went further and then spoke much into what we are doing, not only as nurses, but also in the act of midwifery. Her definition even sank deeper to talk about palliative care. That was why she stated that something you do to aid in the recovery of a patient or to the patient's peaceful death. And I always say that sometimes in practicing, let's remind ourselves with some of these issues and see whether we are within the right shape or whether we are actually going off board. So that is the definition of Virginia Henderson. Unique function of assisting the individual, whether sick or well, in the performance of those activities contributing to her health or its recovery, and then which the person will probably perform unaided if he had the necessary strength, will, or knowledge, and to do so in such a way that you're able to get him or help him to gain independence as rapidly as possible. So comparing the two definitions, I've already even stated some of them. In relation to the client's care and then the environment, Henderson saw the nurse to be concerned with healthy and ill individuals, both. That was why she stated that you consider an individual whether sick or well. So she acknowledged that in the performance of our responsibilities, our roles, we should do our best to interact with clients, even when sometimes, to some extent, recovery might not be possible. It's very, very unfortunate and interesting to sometimes visit some of the institutions, facilities, and ward right in my presence. And then I heard a nurse actually communicating to patients' relatives when the patient had expired. Madam, mobɛhwɛ mo nipa no ho. Mo nipa no deɛ anyɛ yie o. Sɛ mo a mo nsɛ mode no baeɛ no koraa na ɛnyɛ. Mode no baeɛ no nyinaa na ɛnyɛ. Nti deɛ ɛbɛyɛ a na ɛyɛɛ no na ɛnyɛ. Anyɛ yie nti sɛ abusuafoɔ no deɛ aka no wɔ hɔ a momfrɛfrɛ mo na momma ne yɛnka efunu no ho asɛm. Very, very disheartening. Very disheartening. And sometimes with some of the communications that we do, some of the things that we do, it's as if we don't even come for any kind of training. So we want to acknowledge how best to deal with individuals to even extend their relatives, and how we will be able to actually get them engaged in what we do, to understand what we do, and to even show empathy, to show sympathy at
Matilda,
extents
please
that
mute yourself.
so that we understand them and they get to also understand the work we are doing. And so these are the two definitions of nursing from our great philosophers, that is Virginia Henderson and then Florence Nightingale. Definitions from various associations were also considered. We can consider the Canadian Nurses Association's definition, can also consider the American Nurses Association definition. So with that of the Canadian Nurses Association, they stated that the act of nursing is actually dynamic, it is caring, and it's a helping relationship in which the nurse, or I would say the midwife, assists the client to achieve and obtain optimal health. Back in school and now, we see ourselves or some of our students who also actually come to your end, because some do come when they want to select clients or choose clients for care studies. And we see them writing home visits. But actually, you go and then if you want proof of evidence, you see that the home visits that they write, even they don't go for one. But we are looking at the definition of nursing midwifery still from the concept that we need to actually create a helping relationship with our clients to achieve and obtain optimal health. So in the sustenance or achievements of optimal health, it even goes extensively to some of these acts that we do in the bed of home visits. So every activity that we do in the enhancement of building ourselves, practicing in a dynamic way by showing by showing care, and then by also giving assistance in order to provide optimal care or health for our patients. That was what the Canadian Nursing or Association spoke about with respect to the definition of nursing. And then the American Nursing Association also came with their own concept or definition, and they stated that nursing is the protection, the promotion, and then also the optimization of health and abilities, prevention of illnesses, of injuries, alleviation of suffering through diagnosis and treatment of human response, and also advocacy in the care of individuals, families, communities, and then their populations. So they also threw more light into diagnosis as a concept with what we do, into treatment with respect to human response, human rights, in advocacy for our care that we give for our patients, their families, their communities, and extensively to populations. So the big question on board then after is who a nurse is. So one will say, then who is a nurse? So when we say a nurse, we are looking at somebody who have actually undergone special training, someone who is qualified, and someone who is licensed by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Ghana to actually practice. We can also say that a nurse is a person who have completed the program of basic nursing education and who is qualified and authorized in Ghana to give nursing services in the provision of health, prevention of diseases, and care of the sick. And you can't actually do away with qualification if you want to define who a nurse is. You can't do away with the attainment or achievement of the license if you want to talk about who a nurse is. Because we can have someone practicing nursing under training, but not that technical training that spans within our profession, and have someone practicing nursing who might not be qualified or licensed. But then if we want to define a nurse, then we should consider all these things. Not just a person who have received special training, but a person who is also qualified, a person who is licensed by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Ghana to practice, or a person who have gotten the basic nursing education and who is qualified and authorized in Ghana to provide services for all in the bid of promoting health, preventing disease, and then caring for the sick. The recipients of nursing care, as we all know, we call them our patients and also refer to them as our consumers. And sometimes we can refer to them as clients. When we look at them, then we want to consider people who actually get to achieve from the services of health implementation. But then when you consider the word patient, like most often we refer them to, then we are talking about people who receive care, and then from the word which was actually coined from a Latin word. And a patient actually means to suffer or to bear in Latin. And that is why we see them as our patients. They bear, they suffer with what they go through. But in as much as they do, we are there to actually manage them so that even in the bed of suffering, they will be able to achieve fulfillment that they so desire, even if it will lead to peaceful death. So the word patient was actually from a Latin word, and that means to suffer or to bear. With clients, we look at people who we provide services for. And those words are used interchangeably, but within our profession, they are all considered to be very useful when we refer or when we want to refer to people that we implement care for. In Ghana here, the term patient is commonly used, most often within our hospital facilities and within settings where we actually optimize care in prevention of diseases. So we are also looking at factors that influences contemporary nursing practice. So with that, we consider consumer demands as the first factor. What are the factors that influences our practice of nursing? What are the factors or the features that projects our nursing practice in contemporary life? So the first one we look at is with consumer demands. And with that, the public have actually become very, very, I will say, engaged with the services that we provide or we render very interested in the services that we provide or we render, and they want to actually get more insight or knowledge about health and illness than in the past. Initially, it wasn't the case. For now, things have changed. I always say, you go to the ANC, you see these pregnant women coming with even their tablets. And before you realize, they ask you something, they are searching, they Google for it. It wasn't the case in the past. How many pregnant women will you even get to meet who are very much enlightened or educated? For now, things are changing, and you see that people are getting interest in the things that we do. They always want to seek clarification and knowledge into what we do and the services that we provide or we render to them. So consumer demands come into perspective. Family structure also come into perspective, and that influences our nursing profession and then our midwifery profession that we are given. Family structure is a factor in influence of what we are doing. As time goes on, you see that more people are moving away from the extended family, and then they are actually going into the nuclear family of procreation. And so, with respect to what we were doing initially, things are actually changing. Sometimes, with what is actually ensuing now, if at times you want to actually focus on patient's family to help with the implementation of caregiving, you will fail because of the nuclear family of procreation. If you don't get patients who have, I would say, a very committed, devoted family to come extensively and then help in the management of that patient, and you want to go back or throw back with the past where the extended family were actually implementing care and the rest, you will fail. So if you have a patient who has failed the nuclear family of procreation or who has failed the wife, the children, and who is not actually receiving any helping hand from them, maybe everything comes back to you, the nurse or the midwife implementing care. Family structure is also actually a factor which has come to influence the way we practice nursing midwifery in Ghana now. And then science and technology, with that, we can't move away or do away with that. And because of that, we need to always read, we need to always build on knowledge. Most often, with the things we do, with the care we implement, with even drugs or medications that we do, so that we'll be able to give out the best quality of care that probably our patients demand or our profession has entrusted within our hands. So with science and technology, it has advanced, it keeps on advancing, and day in, day out, it will continue to advance. And because of that, we need to also raise ourselves up and do our possible best to move along with advancement as it comes into being. Information, telecommunication has also come to stay. It's unfortunate that sometimes you see things happening on the world being captured on the internet, and these things go far. Sometimes to the extent that bodies of patients on the world are being shown on the internet for public viewing and the rest. It's not the best anyway. But that is the power and then the effect of technology and then information and also telecommunication that has impacted so much in healthcare, and people are becoming well informed about their health outcomes and concerns. And that is why you need to know what you are doing most often, because within the least space of time, if you do something wrong, you see that the thing has actually gone far, and then you will see people actually reaching out to you to get to know and understand what has happened. Sometimes, more often, people don't even get to go much deeper into what has actually generated into that, I will say, controversy, but then we'll jump into conclusions. So information, telecommunications, we can't also do with them when we without them when we consider factors that influences our practice of nursing in contemporary life. And then legislation. With that, if you want to talk about it, it will also be a whole lot. Legislation, laws, it has also come to impact so much with our practice, as we all know. Patient Self-Determination Act, other acts that protects patients, that sometimes also goes further to actually show what the nurse or the midwife is expected to do has also come a long way to impact in the care that we give to our clients or to our patients. And with that, like I stated, it has come to project the rights that patients should should accept from us, and also what we are also expected to give them as response in the implementation of care. So legislation, laws, I would say, has also come to impact more on the way we do our things and how we practice day in, day out. Economic factor financing is also something that has also impacted so much in our practice. Introduction of the National Health Insurance Scheme, which most often or sometimes generates so much controversy, has impacted in the way we implement care. I think not long ago there was some controversy about one. I don't know whether he was a journalist or he was somebody within the media space who said he went to the hospital, and then they told him to get a gauze or get to buy something, and then he didn't understand. He started assaulting some of the staff. I don't even know where that matter ended, but it all boils to economic factors that has come within the space of time with the practice of our nursing midwifery profession, and that has also been very challenging. Years back, we were facing the same issue with the capitalizations and the rest. You see patients coming, and then sometimes they are being referred to other places because their schemes are not capitalized within the institutions, facilities we were working. Sometimes on the way going, at times we even lose some of the patients. It generates so many controversies here and there. And these are all factors that has come to, in a way, shaping our scope of our profession, but also have come to actually impact in the way we do some of our things or we practice some of our things within this modern day. So these are a brief concept. These are brief concepts, and then definitions as well as factors that we consider within the scope of our profession, and which we have started with. We go to nature and origin of nursing. But before then, if I have questions to answer, kindly let me know before we move to that, please.
It's not a question, but there are times that when you are talking, your line goes off or you are muted. Kindly see to that, please.
Thank you.
Just I actually have a question.
Okay, please.
When you ask us to define nursing, are we going to choose the one to, or maybe you are going to tell us to define it according to someone?
Oh, then we are moving. If probably I should answer that question, then we are moving into the space of how the questions we are going to deal with will be. Okay, and we are even not I would say closer to that end. So if we can hold on with that now, because for now I can't say probably whether your questions are going to be with theories only or objectives. So for this question, let's hold on to it. But however it will actually project itself, sorry, there will be specification, and then you will know at least what to expect. Okay, but don't worry, don't worry. If you have the concept and then you are probably asked to define from whoever, if you can't even say everything verbatim, you can say something about what the person actually meant with the definition. And I think you are good to go. So don't worry yourself with that for now.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So nursing in ancient times, then we are looking at the history of nursing development. So we first consider nursing in ancient times. So with that, we look at the perspective of Christ, which actually started around 1250 BC or before Christ. And with this, please, can you kindly mute yourself? Okay. So with this, emphasis was thrown from areas like the Hebrew, the India, and then the ancient Greece. And that was actually where the practice of nursing, when you trace to ancient times, actually started. And with Christ and then his works, you can see them in some of the things that he did within his life, with the healing of the sick, with his ministry, and with some of the things that he did. So they all talk about nursing. With the practice of the Indians, the Hebrews, they also have they have practices and customs that projected the way of how healing was done, of how the sick were treated. And in ancient Greece too, they had customs, they had practices that also projected how healing was done and how the sick were being cared for. And that is why we trace nursing within those times to these people, that is the Hebrews, the Indians, and then the ancient Greeks, and also to the work that Christ actually came to do. With midwifery, we can even talk about what happened with the Egyptians, with the midwives who were caring for the Israelites who went into labor, and with the instructions that Pharaoh gave them, and with how they were also practicing with midwifery. That was where midwifery was actually traced within the ancient times. So we have reasons why we trace our profession. Rebecca Adumakum has raised her hand. Rebecca, can you go ahead? Rebecca,
Yes. Yes, sister.
yes, please, I'm
Please,
listening.
please, if they've made you the co-host, can you please mute all of us? Because some of us, we don't know what is wrong with them.
I don't know if I can from my end, but we'll try and see.
And it's even those with this Zoom user and iPhone user.
Yes,
That's how
they will not even rename themselves. They are just disturbing the class. All of
Let,
you are
let me
mature.
let me call the IT. Don't worry.
Yes,
Let me
please call
notify
them so
the
that they
IT.
will mute all of us.
change your name. You won't change it,
Thank
and you are
you.
disturbing.
Okay. Okay, so he will do it from his end because I can't from my end here. So we are still talking about the origination and then the nature of our work. And that was the ancient times that I mentioned. And we can also consider the dark ages, that is nursing during that time. So within the dark ages, ailments were treated based on intuitions, based on instances sometimes. And people were applying compresses with mud, with other good methods in caring for the sick, and then in also their bit to Some of these treatments were cursing of the spirits. Some of these included appeasing the evil spirits. Some of these included also even beating patients to drive away the evil spirits. And some of the religious groups I know were doing that, and most especially to people they thought were mad. When you go to their end, you will see that some are even in chains and the others. And they thought with their practice, they were also instituting care to them because they believed that those sicknesses were actually from evil spirits. And in order to drive them away, they had to resort to beating them sometimes. And sometimes some of them also had this belief in letting of blood. They were doing a whole lot during the Dark Ages. And that was why we called that period the Dark Age, because some of the things that people were doing were actually creating complications in their own way, which they didn't know. But they were actually also into the fact that they were doing their bit in, in providing care to their patients. And so that was during the Dark Ages where people were treating ailments and then diseases out of intuitions, which resulted in the cursing of spirits, appeasing of evil spirits, and sometimes even to the beating of patients. And then in the Middle Ages, that is during civilization or ancient civilization, within 101450 years, we started to see some kind of reforms in how nursing was actually practiced, how care or health was actually instituted. And this was the era where we saw people like the Hippocrates, who was the father of medicine, who altered views, perceptions about medicine and how to actually progress them to suit scientific ways or scientific methods. This man disapproved perceptions of sources during Dark Ages and then sometimes to some extent even the ancient ages. And then he came out to tease or bring out his own concept with respect to how conditions or diseases should be managed in the bit of introducing medical care or medicine. And to him, diseases were caused by the lack of ability of people to function very well due to sometimes disobeying the laws of health. That was how he saw diseases to span or come into being. And with that, he diagnosed diseases based on clinical signs and symptoms, which we are still following even till date. So he made diagnosis while general nursing was done by actually women of the household or slaves who were actually seen to be nurses there or during that time, because during that time dancing was actually some work or a kind of work people were not actually interested in doing because of the obligations that came along with. So they were using the slaves actually in fulfilling those obligations and duties. So while this man made the diagnosis, he left the other management or the other care to be done or be implemented by the slaves. And those people were that time considered to be the nurses. So in the Christian era, nursing was also perceived. And this was what happened within the Christian era. That was the time we had the monks, we had the nuns, we had the priests, the deaconesses also coming into spectrum to implement care to help the sick. And these people, out of charity, out of religion, and out of faith, were helping with people who were sick by bathing them, by dressing their wounds, and also giving spiritual comfort to them. And St. Francis of Assisi, who founded the Franciscan Orders, was actually an example. And his fraternity or his order that he founded actually helped with health implementation and then caregiving extensively. And out of that, other foundations were built in advancement of health. They focused on even healing of lepers, which to some extent most people wouldn't do within the bed of health because leprosy is infectious, that they were doing their best to care for the sick, to extensively even include lepers. And that was what happened during the Christian era. So the Christian era, what happened has to do with the works of people who were into religion, that is Christian religion, with consideration of works from monks, from nuns, and then from deaconesses, from other people within the Christian religion entity. And that was what they were also doing to help or to manage the sick, from acts of charity by bathing the sick, by dressing their wounds, and then giving or promoting comfort for the sick through spiritual means. Then we come to the Renaissance period. That was when nursing reforms were actually implemented, the Renaissance period. It was actually seen within the 14th, 15th, and then the 16th century, when people became interested in the ideas and cultures of ancient Greeks and Romans. And this was something that also went a long way to shaping how health and how nursing was done. In 19th century, medicine was developed and then nursing was forgotten. And that was the reason why there was actually splitting in churches during that time, because most of the churches who were implementing and then focusing their acts, their beliefs, their practices in the implementation of health actually had to hold on to that because of splitting and because of ideologies that came from medicine as it was introduced. People within religion, like the Catholic entity, had to put a stop to their way of life and how they implemented care, all because of the introduction of medicine, which came to, in a way, create certain speculations with some of the acts or some of the activities of these religious groups. And as a result of that, care was actually neglected and nursing gradually became forgotten. And this led to difficulties faced by people like the aged, like the disabled, like the poor, and then the homeless. With acts of religious entities or with the Christians and with the others, they didn't actually pay much attention to status. And so they considered the poor, they considered the aged, they considered the disabled. But with the introduction of medicine and with some speculations that came around with their work, leading to them also holding on with their activities, people who were actually benefiting from their care became victims and they suffered. So these people were actually victims from the Renaissance period, where reforms, nursing reforms, started coming up. And with the beginning of modern nursing, which we see within the 17th century, we have the works of sisters of charity or sisters of clergy, and they also did their best in providing care and in giving care for the sick, even to the extent that they helped found a school, a nursing school actually, which was also a way of training up people or bringing people on board to take care of the sick. And that actually led to the beginning of modern nursing. Out of the Renaissance period, where nursing was actually going down because of the introduction of medicine, there was a ray of light which began modern nursing. And that was actually started by the services of the Sisters of Charity, and together with a German doctor, it led to even the institutionalization of a school which actually trained people, or which saw to it that people could be trained to practice nursing. And that school was established at Kaiserwerth, and it was actually a starting space for the training of nurses. Even Florence Nightingale, who is seen to be the founder of nursing, had to pass through this school or this institution to equip herself, to adjust herself, and to get knowledge and to get training as well in the practice of nursing. So we want to talk about Florence Nightingale, who is seen to be actually an activist in modern day nursing and in modern nursing. We want to look at her life briefly, concept about her life and her achievements in what we see today with nursing. So she was a dominant figure in nursing, like we see or we've heard about, and she was actually born on the 12th of May, 1820. She was born to the parents William Edward Nightingale and then William Edward Nightingale, and she was the second daughter of her parents. She was named after her Italian city. She was named after her birthplace, and she actually became very prominent from her work with nursing when she had a passion to go into nursing with the visits that she had with her mother in visiting the sick. That was where she got her passion. She had very good stands, social stands, and the parents were very rich, they were very affluent. So out of the stature or the status of her parents, she learned languages like French, like German, like Italian. And her father also even devoted himself in teaching them other courses like mathematics and classics, which during their time wasn't that very, very common to be taught. But because of where she was coming from, she had the opportunity not to only learn French, German, and Italian language, but she also had the opportunity to do courses like mathematics and then classics. And like I stated, she had the passion of caring for the sick when she was actually visiting the sick together with her mother. At the age of 24, she had a calling and she had a passion to delve much into nursing. But actually, her passion wasn't, I would say, consented to by her parents because of where she was coming from. But then she stood her grounds and then she wanted to pursue further in the practice of the profession, that is nursing. So she planned to become a nurse and to pursue it further at the Salisbury Hospital, which was not very far from her home. And by age 28, she was expected to get married like her peers, but she didn't because of the passion, because of the interest and then the devotion that she had with the profession. In 1851, she told her parents she still wanted to pursue more into the nursing profession, and so went to Kaiserworth, where we mentioned during the influence of modern day nursing. So she went to Kaiserworth to get more advancement in nursing or in her nursing career. She had 3 months of training within that nursing school, and from there, she was able to acquire some skills with nursing and to even get appointment in 1853 as the administrator of the Gentlewomen for Nursing. She had her PhD thereafter at the Nurses School at King's College in London. And her work came into limelight when she devoted passion and commitment in caring for soldiers who were actually in the Crimean War, soldiers who were from her country. She nursed them. That was where she actually got the title or the name Lady with the Lamp. That was when she was looking at people who were wounded during the night, fishing or trudging them out so that she could be able to treat them. But this is a brief background from where she started from. She actually had a passion to go into nursing with visiting the sick, from visiting the sick with the mother, and thereafter she decided to pursue it further by going into school and then getting advancement with knowledge from the nursing profession, where out of that she rose through the ranks and then she had appointment even as an administrator, and then she became later a superintendent, PhD holder from the King's College Hospital in London. So still on Florence Nightingale, in 1860, she founded the School of Nursing, and that was actually from funds that were generated in her name called the Nightingale Fund. And with the fund, it was able to complement effort and provide support for people who were actually interested in nursing, and still the fund holds. So it's a fund in her name, and with that fund, they were able to even establish an institution, a school of nursing from it. And it's actually to provide support and then give knowledge, provide knowledge and skills training for people who were interested in the nursing profession. Florence Nightingale was nearly 80 years, and she spent 10 years of her life in a state of decline. But later on, she died in August 13, 1910. But then I would say that she was able to live her life to fulfillment because the passion that she wanted to do, she was able to actually do and then to get it on board and get it done. So she died in August 13, 1910. The rest of her 10 years of living, the end of her years, actually, she wasn't that stable with health. But then, like I stated, I knew, or I can say that she died fulfilled because she was able to live with her passion. So that is a brief history surrounding the founder of nursing, who is Florence Nightingale. We look at that of midwifery, but I would want to end with that of midwifery for today. And questions are encouraged and questions are allowed if there are any. I will ask the IT to unmute you so that anyone with a question can ask, and then we can wrap it up and call it an end. Hopeful to meet, God's willing, next week. Thank you. Ben, and please, I'm done. Can you unmute them so that if anyone have a question, the person can ask it? Okay, thank you. Please, if you are unmuted, and then anyone.
Sister, please, the person of Rachel, now you know that I uh, first of all, I want to thank you for uh, your dedication and how you went on that show. Secondly, I want to ask if you could first get like
Okay, thank you, thank you. I think the one talking, if I heard right, started with appreciation, words of appreciation, and I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
My name is Tapak Justina. I
Okay,
want to find
Justina.
out what was her yes. I want to find out what was the cause of death from Nightingale because the woman who took me personally through labor died through labor, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
hurtful. Like we the nurses, we don't care much into those who take care of us. We neglect them, and at the end, the way they pass on, it doesn't sound well. So I want to find out her cause of death.
Okay.
I mean, for Nightingale. Thank
Florence
you.
Nightingale, her cause of death. To me, what I know till now is that she had an issue with ill health out of aging. That is what I know, because she actually aged. And during the later um, end to life, um, what was documented was that she was actually facing health challenges and then health issues. So I think that out of that, that was what led to the death. Vividly, I've not seen any document that has stated her cause of death, but what I have till now is what is attributing it to old age. Yes. So with old age and its challenges, that was what we have documented now that actually led to her death, but didn't state the actual, the vivid cause of death, even within the old age. That I don't know, sincerely. But what I do
What
know is that
about
out of a old age, health declined and then she died.
What
so
about the
as she
typhoid?
was old, please, did she get the care that she gave to the people? That kind of care, did she receive it? Or she was neglected as well?
There.
Out of neglect, no. That is what I know. With act of neglect, no. Because you read some documents and then it tells you that she died peacefully. Even, I think with one, it stated she died peacefully in the comfort of her home. And she was buried, she was given that accordance that she needed to be given, even with burial and the rest. So, act of neglect, I'm yet to hear about it. What I know is that she died peacefully and then she died even in the comfort of her home. If there's some or if there are some documents that are also in opposition to what I know, then I can't tell. But what I know is that she had a peaceful death and she even had it in the comfort of her home. And from history and documentations, you get to know that they were actually very affluent. So I don't think that with such a person, I don't know, but I don't think that with such a person, she will even face challenges with getting people on board to take care of her at within those times or those devastating end period. I don't think probably there will. I've even heard about stories where people were saying she was a lesbian and a whole lot. But what I can say is that what has been documented is something that we can also learn from. I don't think if she had any other life that was quite skeptical or controversial, we will probably be celebrating her till now. That is what I know. So, with acts of neglect, I'm
Sister,
yet
in
to
your
hear about them. But what
for
I
the
do
net.
know is that she died. or she died a peaceful death. That is what I mean.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. You're welcome.
Sister,
Oh,
please, in your was
Sister, please.
typhoid or because of
hey, baby. The baby
Sister, please, I'm
Postonica.
fine.
Commodore.
There was a slide about the nursing in the dark ages. And
Okay.
then the last point was letting of the blood. I didn't understand that point.
Oh, see what you do. I would please mute yourself. Someone is
oh,
muting
please,
you.
the sister with the baby, the sister with
Oh,
the baby, please mute yourself.
Yes, some more. Okay, so my dear, you were talking about nursing during the dark ages and then letting of the blood. Yes, there were people with conditions which actually had them to bleed. There were some, they were actually abused. I would say, I wouldn't even put it in the form of victimization, but they were actually beaten for them to actually bleed. And the belief was that if probably they are being taken through that course, whatever is happening deep within will come out. So that is letting of the blood. There were so many things people were actually doing to implement or to augment health and then care for conditions. And that was what happened with letting of the blood. Those who were seen to be having conditions that that um, led them to bleed. They were not actually cared for, but they were left for them to bleed extensively with the opinion or with the knowledge that out of that whatever is happening within the system will be managed. Some of them too, they deliberately made those cuts out of beating, out of abuse, so that they will intentionally bleed or they will bleed to let go whatever is happening within the system or the body. And that is the letting of the blood. Okay. So
All right,
thank you for your
sister.
question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question, please?
Yeah,
yes,
sister,
sister.
please, about the caring of the spirit. I don't know whether if you explained that one. I just joined.
Caring of the
Spirit. And is it
person. It's cursing.
okay, casting of the
Cursing,
spirit.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Cursing of the spirits. So the spirits whom they believed to be the causative agents of the diseases were actually cursed.
Hey.
Some were performing, yes, incantations on them so that they will go or they will just leave the bodies whom they are actually to hurt. So there were a whole lot of things happening.
Oh,
So
okay.
they were actually cursing the spirits. Some were chanting so that these spirits believed to be the cause of the diseases will actually get away or go away so that those people could be delivered. So they were cursing the spirits, just like we do curse people today. They were
Yes.
also chanting and then
It's
cursing
area where
spirits
the
so that people will
parents
be.
were not in
This
agreement
is
for her to
serious.
donate,
Mm.
but she went further to her
Thank you very
nursing. So
much.
how was the
You're
relation with
welcome.
parents?
Sister,
Yes, please.
Yeah.
to find out how I'll meet the questioning pattern, how it is going to be in our end of semester. Question, how the pattern.
Please, can you come again? I can't hear you.
Our exams, the midterm and the end of semester, how the pattern is going to
Oh,
be
why are you
MCQ.
so bothered with end of semester? Whatever happens, you write it. And you
Back
know,
to
Whatever
Sister,
happens, we write the end of semester. And we do meet, deliberate on issues at every stage before we proceed as a department. That is why I'm stating that, or I'm saying that for now, I don't want to talk much about it. There might be directive that might come later on from the department with respect to the setting of questions. So if I am to say something now and then things change, what happens thereafter? So why don't you let us wait? And then when it's getting to that end, we discuss. Don't worry. We will be fine. Everybody will be fine. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
please
yeah,
don't
yeah.
bother yourselves with the setting of questions and the rest. Whatever happens, once we are in, we are in. And
Yes.
you are even doing courses that are so, I would say, in depth, like more than transitions. You are doing, I know you are doing pathology, or you don't do pathology.
For
No,
them, no.
Oh, okay.
no.
Then I think it's the next.
is the nursing?
Yes, yes, yes. But I know that you are doing courses that are more even, I would say, in
Yeah,
depth than
pharmacology.
this.
Yeah,
Pharmacology,
biochemistry.
Yes,
biochemistry,
biochemistry.
yes, they are all there, smiling and
Biochemistry.
waiting for you. Mm.
At the
And
table.
you and you definitely sail through. How much more transitions? I'm not saying or disputing the fact that transition is also a course that is also very unique on its own. But all that I'm stating is that whatever happens when you've enrolled, once you've registered for the program, just know that by the grace of God, just like people went through, you also go through successfully. Okay, so please don't bother yourselves with
Amen.
setting of questions for
Amen.
now.
Amen.
Let's focus on what we are doing, and
So
we will
please, are we
get
getting
there.
a guide?
Oh, sure, you will get it.
All
You
right.
get it. You get it
Thank
through your course rep. For now,
Okay.
I know Rabia too.
you.
I know Margaret, and then this other person. I think they are for the centers. So I don't know all the course reps for all the centers, but I do know about 3, 4 people, and I think through them you get to have your slides. Definitely, at the end of the class, you have your slides, and
Okay.
you can go.
Thank you. Before I say that,
Thank
Papa.
you very much, sister.
That's it. Thank you very much. So
Sister,
Are
sister,
you a
please, I
lead
hope you
there?
will take us through the next semester.
So let's
Oh,
let's pray. Let's pray.
Hey, student.
Let's pray.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
pray.
it. Thank you,
It is
madam.
well. I'm also
Yeah.
grateful for your time, for
God
your
bless
Thank you,
cooperation,
you.
sister.
for
God
your
bless you so
diligence.
much.
I'm very
We love
grateful.
you,
So
okay?
thank you. I love you all too.
We
Hopefully,
love
God's
you.
willing, next year
You have a
Bye.
lovely and such
we
a
shall meet. Take care of
wonderful
yourselves and each other too.
voice.
Have
Bye, bye,
Love you
bye.
too.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can't
We
be
love you all that.
we don't
sister,
want
you
you to
have a
go
lovely
far,
voice.
Charlie. Oh,
Please, we
what
want to
time?
ask
what's
her.
What
some
say,
someone no
baby?
fun no?
Eh?
What say,
Bye.
baby?
Maybe
Madam
we start
Omo
questions.
Dada.
Right?
Hey,
Hey,
umi ko
nice
dani
and
able. Oh,
you
ya sorry
are
seven.
You have a sweeting voice.
And they are
yeah,
dog they are
you
Oh,
are
there.
so
muncha
That
so.
is
sweet.
a
You are
Eh,
so
muncha
sweet.
so.
You are
me
so
ko da
no
kai.
wonder some dear call us a wa. Oh yeah, dear
Penny
wife.
for a year.
My
Hey,
yeah,
please,
make
so please,
wife.
they
It's
are
like bad.
still recording. They are still recording. Please, if you leave, leave and stop the unnecessary comments.
Hey,
Hey,
don't say
hey.
that. Yeah, Musu
Please
Eshimasa.
don't say
Ah,
I want
what
to move
is
what one.
unnecessary?
That's what we
Don't
say.
Please,
show me.
one person
Don't
can
show
one
me
person
one.
thank her.
Munkwana manyini.
Uh-huh.
One.
Would have been very
I am in the one.
Eh,
The way
Papa.
you talk, maybe I
You know,
am. I want one.
Okay, why?
Oh my God, I'm seeing kind.
They're saying adult education, children education, they do we boy.
They don't want.
Pamucho, good evening. Pamucho, menya tamale cost contract from anyone, please.
Sister, obiara kɔ ɛ aka mi ne ɔpɛ.
Yeah, 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 sir.
Why no no? Yes. Ɔbɛ respond why? Jẹ́ yẹ deɛ so yɛ pɔn wa no no. Ɛwɔ bi abɔ na kɔ.
Ah, me pacha madam ne time aso ana.
Ayi, ɔte wɔ abrɛ. Nwummerɛ.
Oh, okay. Unkwada, yakura.
Yɛ abrɛ, ɛkɔ yɛ abrɛ.
Good evening, please. Can I get the Keta course reps number from anyone, please?
Sisters, please, is she done?
Please, can anyone help me with the Keta course reps number?
Yeah, someone a course rep. Kabuni is a course rep. Because last time I said tamale course rep. Like, I said, will be answering film. I don't know.
But please, do you have the slides for, or is there any group for the class I can, like, I just joined this week and I want any help.
But the group there is general. So Anka course rep, Nanka say like a mobile outer so that we would know how to create group from the various regions. But it's like since like in the morning the biochemistry that I and the new one even I don't know. So so I don't know.
Pacho. Okay. Do you, in case, do you have any slides of all the course we are doing so that personally I can
Yeah,
check
but
and
one
have it?
page so one on there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Pacho, what of last week in so?
Debbie. Last week I mean be. And she said, "Minya nana so yeah. Why?" But me so even teacher lectures, I don't know whether they've sent data because I'm not going to be like nothing is there. It's not person me find it course rep na nka so that I'll ask her. But me no me hear the number. Tamale course rep is me no. In case any be why?
Pacho, thank you.
Yeah.
Please, what's your name? Vanessa.
Mubaraka.
Mubaraka. Okay.
Yeah.
Pacho, can I have your number? Something.
0544 930 0193.
Pacho, Istanbul Mubaraka.
Yeah,
054
4 930
9201.
0193.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pacho, I'm so 054
054
93. Hey, network. 054.
4.
Okay, 4.
930
Oh,
01.
93. Okay, thank you.